Hey everybody, Jamieleigh here from BirdTricks, and today's video is talking about what the heck to do when your bird stops eating. And yes, I had this on a recent consult, which of course birthed this video idea. Okay, so there's a few different perspectives you could be coming at from my bird stopped eating. So the first one I want to tackle is if your baby bird stopped eating. If your baby bird is refusing hand feeding or is going through a weaning process, please consult your breeder and be closely in contact with your breeder. That is what they do for a living. So I want to make sure that you have not only a vet on your side, but also the resource of your breeder, because they're going to know best based on the species and all of that. So this video isn't pertaining to that predicament. However, I do have a free download on how to properly wean a baby bird if that's what you need help with. But as far as a baby bird refusing to eat, that's when a breeder or a vet gets involved to help you, because you do need somebody hands-on. So the scenario I'm really talking about is when you already have your bird on what you could call your ideal diet, which is hopefully my seasonal feeding system and looks something like this, so it's super fresh and healthy for your bird. And then suddenly their appetite changes and they're just not eating. And maybe you notice the weight's going down. Maybe there's not so much a weight fluctuation, but just an appetite fluctuation, and we'll talk about that as well. I do notice that when there's an appetite fluctuation and the weight doesn't seem to follow, that is usually hormones talking. So hormones can really throw us, because sometimes it looks like illness, or the symptoms are kind of that of illness, where their appetite fluctuates, sometimes their weight fluctuates, and their poops definitely look different. And I know it's weird to talk about your bird's poop, but it tells you a lot of data, so it's important in this aspect. Now, the scenario that I'm really tackling today is when your bird is on an optimal diet, like my seasonal feeding system, and then you just notice, like, it's not eating it anymore. What's going on? Are we seeing a weight decrease? What happened? I have clients that come to me and say this, and say that everything was going really, really well, and then suddenly the bird stopped eating or refused to eat, and so they went back to offering the old food out of fear that the bird was going to starve to death and they would lose their bird. So I want this video to really talk to those people, because there were so many tips and tricks I had up my sleeve to offer to get the bird eating again that had nothing to do with going back to an old, terrible, unhealthy diet. So in no way do you ever want to go back and reverse and undo all the great things you did in acquiring a good diet by offering unhealthy foods. A lot of the times, if you're just offering your bird a bowl of seed just to get its weight up, that's not the proper way to get the weight up on a bird. You want to do it in a successful, healthy way, where you're either building muscle or you're giving really good foods more often so that they can bulk up. But you never want to do it with fatty foods. Not to say just on its own, it probably won't even be accurate. So you want to go about it a really healthy way. So I'm going to give some tips and tricks on how to get creative with getting your bird, that's bird and food, it's as one word, getting your bird to eat well again. Some of this happens when you're doing my seasonal feeding system and you jump from one season and then you're going to the next season. I know that some rescues and sanctuaries that are making giant batches of my recipes for so many birds, that they will often combine half of one season and half of another, blend it all together, and that's what they'll give them to transition into the next season. So if you find that you need to do something like that, that's totally okay. If you find that the beets in one of the recipes is just making everything pink and your bird's not into that, then go with golden beets, because those have a little bit sweeter flavor and they won't turn your entire batch pink. So just kind of think outside the box of what it is that's turning your bird off. Do you need to incorporate foods that it likes a little bit more? They're a little bit sweeter. Bell peppers tend to be on the sweet side, so most birds are really into that. Maybe you need to incorporate more of those. I knew a bird that was obsessed with jalapenos, and so I had told her owner to just incorporate lots of jalapenos to get the bird interested, and then slowly dwindle back to the appropriate amount. Things that you need to do temporarily for transitional periods and for the better good of your bird's diet in the long term are totally okay. Birdie Bread is another great one where birds love the texture of the actual birdie bread, and you can hide a lot of things in there, especially if you're dealing with stopping eating from pellets. There's so many things you can get creative with pellets. So I will say, in my seasonal feeding system, I do have a FAQ for all the things that people have brought up before. And stopping eating things kind of goes back to all of the fun recipes that are in there aside from my seasonal feeding. So a lot of people don't understand that the seasonal feeding system is really the ultimate goal. That's what we want all birds to be on, ideally. So they're getting their vegetables in their raw form, they're getting the most nutrients out of their food. However, all the extra recipes are really to give either variety to your bird or to help diet conversion. So if you're just having a hard time getting them to eat certain things, you can use the following recipes to encourage your bird to explore its food. Another thing I want to point out is there's so many recipes in my book that are foraging recipes and were so much fun to serve because of the nature of foraging and destruction and just getting our birds to play with our food. That is kind of the first step in getting your bird onto a healthy diet, is encouraging them to play with their food. And I know it sounds wasteful, but I promise it's not. It's all going towards the greater goal. So here we have these green wraps in my cookbook, and CRESSI is going to town on this, pulling all the goodies out from the inside. And these were all rolled up, so it's really, really fun way to serve. I'll show you guys on the side. This is some fun ways to serve it, and there's just some goodies in those wraps that they can just pull out, destroy, crunch up. A lot of the birds just loved pulling the leaves apart. So things like that where you're really getting creative. One of my favorites is our caterpillar recipe. It's not real caterpillars, don't worry, but they're super cute. So we made these caterpillars, and we've had fun doing these on our Tasty Tuesdays over on Patreon. And Capri and Dave and I, and actually my mother-in-law, we all made our own versions of our caterpillars, and then we tested them out to our birds to see which one they went and destroyed first, and whichever ones they destroyed, that was like the winner. So these are really fun because it allows you to get creative with your bird's food and see what you can make to get them enticed and get them interested. Some birds prefer certain textures, other birds prefer certain temperatures. So if you need to alter that temporarily to get your bird back on track, feel free to do so. That in no way is going to harm your bird for the long term of just using it as a transitional tool. One of my clients, who is now manager actually of BirdTricks, had such a hard time converting her bird that her bird was on Birdie Bread for over 6 months, trying to use it as a transitional tool. Now, is that ideal to have your bird getting Birdie Bread every single day for 6 months? No, not necessarily. However, she's a free flight student. We knew that bird was burning off all those calories, and we knew it was going for the greater good and the greater purpose of getting her bird on the diet that it would be on for the rest of its life. So it's a very minimal price to pay to get your bird eating healthy. So I will say the main things with getting your bird back to eating is just getting creative. If you need to change the texture and make something mushy, go for it. Of course, be mindful of how that might play a role in hormones. But we're talking diet here. Diet is one of your foundations, and you need to make sure it's the right diet. So it's worth it in order to get your bird eventually on the original seasonal feeding system. Wow, talking is not my thing, like ever. I feel like I say that in every video, and here I am, still doing videos. Another great way to entice your bird is by taking those fresh foods and making a fun omelet out of it. As you can see, my budgie Visa at the time was loving this omelet, and omelets are pretty popular at our house. Dave and Capri eat omelets almost every single morning. And Blueberry, my budgie, is all about it. So sometimes just working those fresh foods or even pellet powder into an omelet is all it takes to get your bird right back on track and eating healthy foods again. So keep in mind, some birds love holding food in their feet and just eating out of their foot. Patty's entire flock, my friend Patty, her entire flock is like this, where they like to just hold stuff in their feet and eat. And she has primarily cockatoos, so totally get it. So you may want to consider making your food into something that can be a foot food. So these are one of our BT crumbles. We call them our BirdTricks crumbles, and they're super fun. The whole thing was kind of making a healthy version of a Nutriberry, but basically we're just trying to make a foot food for a bird to hold and have fun consuming and breaking apart. So the cool things about these is that they do crumble, hence the name BirdTricks crumbles. So making something like this might be the gateway to getting your bird back on track because it's eating in a way that it desires to eat. All right, on this page, TUSA is eating our curly pasta salad. Now, pasta is obviously one of the most loved carbs by our birds, and we have to be really mindful when we're putting carbs into our birds. Some of my seasonal feeding, well, one of my seasonal feeding recipes calls for pasta until your bird is 100% eating the seasonal feeding, and then I say, don't give the pasta in it anymore. But as an enticement food, it does its job. It also plays a really big role as a binding ingredient. So when you toss pasta in a food processor, it gets up nice and tiny, but it also becomes sticky. And this means that all the really, really good foods like the vegetables and stuff are sticking to that. So when the bird wants to get that really filling piece of pasta, it can't help but get the nutritious foods along with it. So pasta can be used as a tool, which I guess is the whole purpose of this video, is really looking at foods in the ingredient, in the temperature, in how you serve it, in the color, all those things as a tool. So find the things that your bird is just obsessed with and you know can't steer it wrong, where you can use that as a tool to get better eating habits out of your bird. So I'm gonna give you guys a few more ideas out of my seasonal recipe feeding book. There's tons of ideas. There's over hundreds of recipes in these books. You get a set of 3. You can do them as an instant download on my website, so you have it right now, or you can get the physical copies like I'm showing you if you tend to like to hold things in your hands, especially cookbook form. We have it spiral bound so that you can set it against something and easily open to whatever page you need and make those recipes. So here are my friend Patty's cockatiels, Tinky and Dee Dee, going into a foraging cup. And the cool thing about it, although we do provide the recipe of what is in these foraging cups, you can kind of make up your own too, and you can get creative with serving even the seasonal feeding system. So instead of just putting it in a bowl, you could put it in a foraging cup, you could put it in a bell pepper, you could put it in part of a pumpkin or a butternut squash. There's so many different ways. You could even roll it up in those leaves that I was showing earlier where I think it was Swiss chard that we used. So you can really get creative in how you serve the food to your bird and making sure that it's fun and not getting too boring for them, which again is why we change with the seasons with our seasonal feeding system to make sure that they're getting a balanced diet year round and keep it fresh for them. Oh, this is a really, really fun one that we had a lot of fun with. So we made kebabs, and I will say you wanna make sure that your bird is eating its healthy diet, but then check out the chart I have on how often you can feed certain categories of food. And the ones that don't have any sort of limitations to them, you can put on a skewer or kebab and serve in your bird's cage. And this is so much fun for them to just go at and destroy. So just make sure, because I tend to see a lot of people do this with mainly fruit, try to stay away from doing it with fruit and stay to really healthy foods. Okay, so this one kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where you want to use foods like pasta or even grains, because most birds, anything that has carbs in it, they're just all about. So you want to make sure you're using those really specifically and not just as freebies. This is a mini stuffed shell recipe that we have where we make 2 different recipes for filling them in. But as you can see, this cockatiel was so excited for going for the pasta part. And this is cool because the recipe inside is sticking to it. So eventually this cockatiel is going to taste that and get a bite of it and realize the filling is actually the better part. I'm gonna end on this one because I wanna leave a little tribute to Bandit because I miss him every day. So this is Bandit enjoying one of our stuffed bell pepper recipes. This one was so fun and he was such a good taste tester. For more recipe ideas and just crazy amount of inspiration, check out my seasonal feeding cookbook. I'll leave a link in the description. You do get these other 2 books as well. We tried to do really fun, healthy holiday recipes that are all themed out. And then we also have a smaller book that talks about recipes that you can make for yourself, so they're meant for humans, but aren't gonna hurt your bird to share every once in a while. So that you could do a little social eating there. But I just wanna stress the fact that if your bird shows suddenly a disinterest in healthy foods, please don't immediately resort back to panic mode and going and offering what it used to eat, whether it was an all-seed diet or an unhealthy pellet. Please get creative first and figure out ways to entice your bird to eat the good stuff, whether you need to change the color, the temperature, the consistency, the texture, whatever you need to do, or use other favorite foods to entice back in and then slowly wean back. But please don't just erase all of your productivity in the leaps and strides that you've made in getting your bird to eat healthy. Don't just give up that quickly. There's lots of areas where we can help you, so please feel free to reach out, info@birdtricks.com, and my customer service team is happy to help. They have all been through the ringer, as I say it, with different experiences with diet conversion. So some of them had to do the weaning process all over again because they thought they were buying a completely weaned bird and then it regressed to hand feeding, so they had to learn how to wean and teach a bird to eat vegetables for the first time, while others have adult birds that just wouldn't diet convert and had to use Birdie Bread for 6 months and make it from scratch and really control what went in it. So there's just kind of all across the board. My customer service team has seen it all because they all started as clients, and so they understand what you're going through and are completely happy to help you, as am I. So if it goes beyond customer service and you require a one-on-one consult, I'm always happy to do those. So make sure that you contact me if that is the case. But yeah, happy eating, everybody. Thanks for watching this video, and leave your tips and tricks of your own in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.